Hello there, and welcome to the Our Time Film Podcast, where we talk film, TV, games, and all that jazz that there's no tomorrow. This week, we're talking about Uncharted, the movie. It's time. We
Yeah.
cannot avoid it any longer. My name is Tom, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host John.
Hi. Wow, this is funny because we went to see the film recently.
We just got back like an hour ago, so we haven't really had time to process it. So
Oh
it will
god,
just be the musings of madmen. So, just what did you think?
it was just a mess. It was so boring and messy at the same time. That's what I just got from it. But you?
Yeah, I agree. It was so incredibly at war with itself. It's like you said it very well as we came out of the cinema. You know, even if that wasn't based off some incredible Uncharted games, which we talked about last week, if you guys want to check it out, it would still be just a travesty. It just failed in so many places. Let's talk about first and foremost, kind of like the biggest thing going in, obviously as an adaptation of Uncharted, the casting. Boy oh boy, the
Oh
casting.
god,
Tom Holland as
casting.
Nathan Drake, Mark Wahlberg as Sully. What do you
It
think?
is horrendous. It is
Yeah.
just, as we were just talking about the whole filming process for Uncharted. The original thing was that Mark Wahlberg was supposed to be Nathan Drake,
Yeah.
but as time went on, different directors, Mark Wahlberg just aged, so he had to be Sully. Yeah, and then they went with Tom Holland, and it's nothing like the game's chemistry or characters that you loved from the games. Like Sully in this one, he's just nothing. Like he's like, "You right, kid, you right. I'm gonna get the gold. I'm gonna get the gold, kid." In the
No,
games, he's
you've already
more.
whipped out the impressions. We're not even 5 minutes in. We're talking about a bad movie today, folks.
Oh god, there's no character arcs at all. It's just so strange.
Yeah, no, you're
Yeah.
right. There is like Nathan doesn't learn anything. If anything, he's proven right continuously. Like maybe he learns not to be so trusting, but at the same time, not really. Like he puts his faith in people continuously, and the other characters continually tell him not to do that, and he just gets proven right at every turn. And Sully, I guess, is the only one who goes through anything, which is the opposite, I guess, to learn to trust instead of loving gold. But spoilers, by the way, for the whole film, even though it's completely generic in every sense of the word. But Sully, at the end, he lets the gold go for Nate.
Oh
And then, like, 2 seconds
no.
later, Nate's like, I've got some gold. And Sully's like, yeah. It's like, what? I thought the whole point was that you don't care about the gold. It feels so kind of conflicted.
Yeah, and okay, going back to like the casting and as well with the character arcs, it's just so bizarre seeing Tom Holland as Nathan Drake. It's just you're watching the younger version of Nathan Drake. Like in the games, it's like that, but it's nothing. It's just like the same. Like at the beginning when there's a flashback when they're in the orphanage with the brothers. Spoiler alert: Sam is alive. He's doing well. Yeah.
What?
Oh my god. Well,
Sam's
uh,
alive?
Sam's alive. Oh my god, biggest plot twist since Star Wars. Anyway, you see the young Nathan Drake, but then there was like a slow fade into like the present day, like him just sitting, and then you see Tom Holland's character just sitting down. Nothing changed. It's just
He doesn't look older at all.
no.
It's like, oh yeah, next week. It's like, no, I agree. The whole idea is obviously we're doing origin story. First of all, weird choice. Why do we need an origin story? I don't even know. But that's the direction that they chose. And it just, I think Tom Holland doesn't play it well. Everyone knows him as Spider-Man. I don't think that's the problem. But I think that he's very good at playing that kind of role, which is kind of out of your depth and kind of like very childish. And they didn't try to spin that. They write Nathan Drake exactly how he's written in the games. And to the film's credit, there were a lot of times when I thought to myself, these lines, if they were delivered by Nolan North, even for Sully, it's like if they were delivered by the people who play them in the video games, that line could have actually been great. And that is actually really good. But played by Wahlberg and Holland, especially, they were just like, it didn't feel like them at all. And you've got like this guy who isn't selling this cool persona. I didn't feel like Nathan was as cool as Holland pretended he was.
No, and I was just so sad and happy at the same time when I saw Nolan North just
Oh,
like on the beach
yes.
and
His
said like,
cameo.
"What the hell happened to you two?" And then like the voice and the charisma from that, like
Oh,
that is just 100% better than most what happened in the film. And
yeah. We were, we were the only people, like, it was a very packed cinema. And when Nolan North came on screen, we were like, oh my God, we freaked out.
it's
And
him.
everyone else around us were just like sitting there like, is this significant? Like, I feel like we were the only ones who cared about that. But even to an audience who don't know the games, I just don't think this works at all. The way that Sully and Nate meet is so strange, in the video game. Now, I know that it shouldn't all be comparisons to the game, but the game does it better, okay? So I'm going to compare it to the game. Like, you've got this whole sequence where young Nate is tailing Sully, and they have this kind of a couple of little interactions, where they're stealing things from each other, and then like they come together, and you don't even see their friendship properly develop. You just get that little pocket of time, and it's great. And in the film, Nathan is working at a bar for some reason, and that's a point of his character that is just like so weird. It's not important at all. And he meets
Yeah.
Sully, and Sully's like, hey, you shouldn't steal. Okay, I'm gonna steal this. You come and find me in your thing. Okay, bye. It's like, it was that. And it's so weird. And he counts on Nate to come and find him, and Nate does, with this bracelet that doesn't become important. And the whole thing is just so incredibly it's such a disservice to the characters from the games.
I just don't know what the whole idea of taking a new character, like it's just new characters that
Yeah.
is really the characters that we see. Like they're making like the two characters look really bad in this film and like situations as well, and it's just not there.
I guess the only reason this is Uncharted is so they could slap the Uncharted brand and get some of the Uncharted fans in. Otherwise, it would just be a shit action adventure film, because that's what it is at the end of the day. None of those elements really scream Uncharted. There's one scene where Sam and Nathan discuss. I mean, it's not really discussed. Sam basically gives exposition about Francis Drake and the ring, and that's all we get. Like, it's not even important at all.
It's just so wrong. Like Mark Wahlberg's like, yes, I'm the tough guy, and I'm going through like just like in the entire film, just being nothing like Sully at all. Like there's no smoking the cigar type of thing. You see that at the end of the film, like you just get
Yeah.
cigar, or being like this really moody character from the games, but also very charismatic towards Nathan Drake because they knew each other for long. But this, it's so out of place because they just met together and it's like, yeah, thank you, kid, and doing that at the end of the game. But in this film, it's just like, I need treasure.
That's his only motivation, and they don't do anything with it. Nobody, literally, I don't understand the motivation behind anyone. I think Nathan is the only person I get it. Okay, so Nathan, he had this thing with his brother. He wants to find the gold because that's what he wants to do all his life. Okay, I guess. They don't really convey that he wants to do it in the flashback. The flashback is just expositional purely. Like, Sully just wants gold. The villains. Let's talk about the villains for a second. We got Santiago, played by Antonio Banderas, who is really generic and then just dies for no good reason other than to make Joe, who is his like henchman, to make her the main villain. But he has like a flimsy motivation. He believes it's his family's, like it was his birthright to get this gold, this treasure of this sailor or whatever. And she just wants it because there isn't a reason. They never say why she wants the gold at all. Is she greedy? Maybe.
I just realized, man, the only reason why he killed him was that she was jealous that Chloe Fraser was part of the team.
Yeah, that's it. She literally was just jealous of Chloe and then tries to kill Chloe, and Chloe escapes, and that's it. They never meet each other again. They just like, wow, great work, guys. You did well. You
Oh
did a
my
good job.
God, this is terrible. Let's talk about the story treasure. They're finding all the treasure, like in the games. I know we have to compare the games, but in the games, you get a lot of detail about the background to that certain treasure area. For example, in Uncharted 2, there's a famous person, Marco Polo, who talks about the 200 ships. And there's a lot of good resources that trapped in that area. And then there's a famous quote by it. But this is just so boring. Like, there's
It
nothing
really
to it.
is. Can you even remember the name of the guy whose treasure it is?
No.
I can't even remember. It was like Alan. I don't know his
Alan?
name.
Alan. Wow. The weird thing was that at the beginning, when Sam and Nate are in that museum, I don't know why they were in the museum. Why were they in the museum? We don't know why.
Exposition, John. Exposition.
Wow. And then he's
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this is the map. What do you mean? This is the first map.
Great. Like, cool. Literally, he's like, hey, bro, come here. This is the first map ever. Oh, you mean the guy who sailed around the world? Oh, he didn't. Okay. And then, like, when you see him in the present day, he's like, oh, I've been obsessing over this map all my life. And it's like, really? Like, because you did not seem bothered about it in the flashback at all. It's like, I don't know why that flashback is there other than expositional purposes. Like, it just sets things up and, you know, it just creates such a flimsy character arc. The whole, I mean, like, the coordinates at the end. There's this whole bit when Nathan's working really hard and he finds a secret message from Sam that makes him use the two keys, the two crosses. It uses them as compasses and it points him to the direction where he's supposed to go. And he finds it. And he's the only one who has this information. Apparently not. He goes into the pirate treasure and Sully's like, well done, you found it. And it's like, how did you get here, Sully? Like, you just, like, how, what? You weren't even there. Like, you would, what? And then the villains arrive. How did they find it? They're just like, boom, we're here. Get the helicopters, folks. It's like,
did
what?
anyone tip them off? No. Usually in those type of situations, they would like have someone that tells them the situation. No one does. Chloe doesn't even have the right direction. She was going in the complete wrong way, like when having the coordinates. I mean, that was a smart move when Nathan did that, you know, put the wrong coordinates. And then
yeah, that was a smart move. But then Chloe just leaves the film. Chloe isn't in the film at all. It's like, why is she even there in that case? To have, and then like,
she comes back later. It's like, you're in the helicopter now. So
yeah. She gets one shot where she's like, oh, you betraying me again. It's like, why have we got this character here at all? It's so incredibly baffling.
Yeah, it's just like nothing like the game's characters, like Chloe's Fraser character. You do have that sense of betrayal from her. It kind of works when, you know, it's like she was the one who was working for this guy. What was the villain?
Santiago?
Oh, Santiago.
I don't remember his last name, but my
Santiago,
God, I mean,
yeah.
like, I genuinely think now the idea with him is that he's a really generic villain and he just gets killed. But I thought that he was like Antonio Banderas was having fun with it. Like, I genuinely didn't mind him as a character. He was just really stupid, you know? Like, the actual villain, Joe, they don't try to be ironic with her or anything. Like, they generally try and, like, make her like, oh, she's this big threat. Like, no, she's not. But he was, like, just funny. There's this really great bit where, like, he's standing in front of his red car and Chloe comes up and she's like, oh, nice car. And he just pauses and just goes, yeah. It's like, what? What's going on?
No one laughed. No one laughed apart from us.
Oh, I'll tell you what, the comedy in this film was painful. Like,
it was atrocious. It was so bad that
dreadful.
I just didn't know what was happening. What was the worst one?
I think it was the one on the phone where Nate opens Sully's phone and is like, oh my God, Sully, you've got so many apps open, and everyone in the cinema laughed. So many people laughed, and I'm just like, this is it. This is comedy. We used to have people who actually thought about this. Now we have whatever the hell that was. It was, dreadful.
And then the other joke was that he fell in the fountain or something. That was a weird chase, that one, with the editing and weird cinematography.
Yeah, they chase Chloe. Okay, so they're having a conversation when they meet Chloe, and then Chloe leaves. And I want to point out the whole conversation, Chloe has been about 5 feet apart from everyone else. And then they leave and they're like, oh my God, she stole the cross from out my rucksack. And I'm like, no, she didn't. How?
What?
Excuse me? Like, she didn't even do a thing where she, like, pretended to do something and it was a bait and switch. No, that was right. Okay, fine. And then they have a really shit, like, chase across the rooms where they're going so slowly. And then randomly, so Nate's chasing Chloe. I understand what's going on. There's a bit, maybe too many cuts, but I understand what's going on. And then Sully appears and it's like, what? I thought you were back there. What? Like, the geography just makes no sense. And then they keep on chasing her and then they fall in a fountain. And they're like plodding along, and there's a random bubble. Did you notice the bubble? That's
I saw that.
Like some kid is like blowing bubbles, but we don't see it. It's just a random bubble just there. It was so strange. And then Chloe nearly runs Nate over with the car that she now has. It's just like, wow, how do you fail that hard on something as simple as a chase scene? We talked about the chase scene in the Book of Boba Fett a couple weeks ago. But compared to this, that's a masterpiece.
The weird bit was that they were in the fountain, right? And Nate was just soaking wet. Chloe was dry.
Yeah, Chloe was fine. If anything, I don't think I've ever seen someone drier. Nate was soaked head to toe, just like out of breath. It's just like continuity, guys.
Wow, continuity in Hollywood is definitely improving, am I right?
I just want to point out that Nathan and Sully spent 10 hours in the boot of a car, closed, and they didn't run out of oxygen. They were fine. They were just like, oh, wow, impressive.
Yeah. They didn't have like a really good backstory. They did for Chloe, I guess, like about finding the treasure and then her father sold it and her father left her. And I think that's a good backstory for the treasure hunter, but
I agree.
That was good. But the rest of the characters, I mean, we got Nate's backstory, but Sully, it's not explained at all. Like, I mean, it kind of is like you have to go through like some of the montage that, like, oh yeah, I was part of the, what was he? Was he in jail or something?
He was part of the Navy or something and he stole things. And then, I mean, that was such a weird montage. Like, Nathan's like doing pull-ups on his bed, and at the same time he's searching all this information, and then we get this bit where they're texting each other. Why wouldn't you just have a scene where they talk? Like, why are they texting? What?
Texting is lazy, I'm telling you. Whoever does like texting in TVs or in movies, that's not good. That doesn't really push anything. It's going to be the most forgettable thing that you're going to see, apart from this one thing in the text was the cat. They had to get a cat in this.
I thought when I played Uncharted, I thought, what Sully needs as a character? He needs a cat. And don't worry, the film got me. It helped me out. And it was like, here's what you've always dreamed of. Sully has a cat, and he has two scenes of the cat. The first scene, he says, I don't want a cat. And then he mentions the cat again and is like, oh, I hope the guy feeds the cat. And then later on, he's like, I don't go anywhere without my cat. And it's like, I'm sorry, has somebody just fed me drugs? Like, what's going on? Is this Victor Sullivan?
The wise, cracking guy in Uncharted, just like having a great time, just helping Nathan for the adventure. He has a bloody cat. Oh my God. What? I just want to know.
If anyone can tell us the relevance of the cat, please. I need to know.
Is it something that Sully wanted in the game, or is it in the books?
No, he doesn't say it in the game. I don't recall any.
I don't remember. Like, I do remember Nathan hearing that he wanted a dog, so that's in the end of the game. So
yeah, I mean, it's mad that the film doesn't give us Sully with a mustache until the end. It doesn't give us Sully smoking cigars or in his Hawaiian shirt, but don't worry, it gives us Sully with a cat that nobody asked for. It's like
Sully with a cat.
You don't want to do the bare minimum of giving Sully his signature look. Like you gave Nate his look at least in the final act. He gets his like classic outfit, but Sully, no, he's got a cat. He's all fine. That's characterization right there.
Oh yeah, Joe. Is it Joe?
Yes.
That was a weird villain. Throughout the film, you are focused on Santiago, like what his motivation, or what, I don't know what the motivation is. I guess it's like that the treasure is belonging down to the family.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then he's trying to find it, and then something happened to those ships somewhere, and I don't know. It's not very good at explaining stuff. It's just through dialogue that that
Yeah,
Mark Wahlberg was like, "Hey kid, I know my history." So basically, there was a guy who went to all around the world, and he's got all this treasure, but he didn't go all the way around the world. Instead, he went to this place where he hid it. So then you can not find it.
that makes complete sense. Thank you, Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg is just playing himself like he does in every
Yeah.
role. There's a whole section where they're in, is it Barcelona? I think it's, yeah,
Barcelona.
Barcelona. Yeah, and
Yeah.
they've got this thing where Chloe and Nate are underground and Sully's over the ground following them using his GPS on his phone. This is so high tech, and they're doing exploring, right? It's the most dull exploration I've ever seen. It's so nothing. They just walk down corridors and then like go into a nightclub where they have a little fight, and then they go into there's this sequence where like the water is filling up, which is an all right sequence, but they wanted this sequence to be Nate getting to know Chloe so her eventual betrayal would be, you know, impactful. It doesn't really work, but they don't even make the exploratory elements interesting. This is a film about explorers, and the exploring is boring. That rhymed, but
Wow, that's poetry,
we
guys.
did it. There was a reason to watch this film. It was for that beautiful rhyme. But it's just it just doesn't. None of this was worth it. Like there was one. Okay, so this film is shot in the head. No, this film is shot by the same cinematographer who did Last Night in Soho. Now, Last Night in Soho is amazing in every single way. Visually, it's incredible. The shots are absolutely sublime. Watch our video on it. We just gush about it for ages.
Yeah,
but in this film, I don't know whether he shot good stuff and they just cut it because the editing was pretty bad. But oh my god, it was so bland. There was 2 times that I was like, oh yeah, cinematography, cool. Like one time was Nate like swung on the pirate ship. He swung like around and the camera like followed him as he swung around one of the ropes and like kicked someone. I thought that was cool. And that whole action sequence was actually fairly all right. And the other time when they were falling down and Nate had to, and it was a one cut continuous shot of Nate having to like fly down to the box and hit the parachute, and he like bounced off it. It felt just like the video game. And then in the same shot they go down into the water. That was great. But everything else, it's like you should be shooting your action and your exploratory elements. You could be shooting them in such more dynamic and interesting ways, and they just don't.
There were some weird bits when so the information was just blurting out for exposition, just like, okay, so basically we gotta find this place where it got Infernum and heaven and hell, so you gotta go up and down wherever you want to go. And it just gets a bit confusing when Sully's just looking on his phone, looking around, trying to find them with the GPS, and then goes into Papa John's to why was that joke even in there? It's not even
because
funny.
Sponsorship, John. People can go watch Uncharted and then go to Papa John's, have a lovely pizza.
Is Papa John's next to? Yeah, I think so.
I mean, not where we live, but in America, there's a Papa John's next to every cinema. Uncharted guarantee.
Yes, Papa John's. That will remind me to go after I watched this. Yes.
Hell yeah.
And the sad bit was that there was only one piece of the set pieces, like, you know, the crazy stuff that you see in Uncharted. No, it's not in this. It's just
they did they did a discount version of the plane fight in the third game, and that's how they open the film, with this really kind of boring version of Nate climbing up the boxes as the you know, like in the middle of the air. Again, it was so bland and it could have been so much better. And I have to say, like, you start the film and Nate's apologizing as people are like flying away, you know, like falling down to their deaths. And it's like, I'm sorry, but that never comes up again. Nate is kicking people off the pirate ships and killing them left, right, and center. Doesn't apologize once, but at the beginning, oh, he's so apologetic. It's so weird.
Yeah, that running joke is a bit weird. And also there's a running joke. It's just so bad. Like, okay, in this film, we have a Scottish guy.
Oh,
so
no.
The first time we met him was at this horrible sequence, the auction. Yes, the auction. And he's The joke is very funny at the first time. Second time saw him. Was it at the disco thing?
No, it was at the auction again. So they have the whole joke is that he says something and then Nate's like, "Oh, I can't understand you because
Yeah,
you've got a
yeah,
heavy Scottish accent." And it was fairly funny the first time. And
yeah.
then,
And then
ugh,
the third time was at the disco thing.
yeah,
Like, oh, what you won pina colada? And
yeah,
okay, okay. And then the
just
fourth
sure.
one, he's he's
It's
on
just
the helicopter, just
like
screaming
what, like
and
it's
holding the gun as well. Like,
yeah.
is that supposed to
Ah,
do anything?
like there's this whole sequence where, as I said before, the villains arrive on the pirate ships and Nate and Sully hide underneath, and the villains are like walking about, and you specifically see the Scottish guy looking about from under the floorboards, and he nearly looks at where they are, but he doesn't find them, right? Like, cool little bit of suspense. And then Joe's like, okay, call the helicopters. And the helicopters come. It's like, okay, I understand. And then you cut to the helicopter pilot. The Scottish guy's there. How did he get from what? How did he get from the cave all the way to the freight runner where the what? Well, it doesn't make any sense. Does he have a twin brother? Can he fly? Like, how did he get? And he's flying it with one hand with a gun in his other. Like, what are you gonna do with just a regular pistol? You're gonna shoot it from the
Scotland.
helicopter, like for Scotland. It's like, what's your plan, man? Oh, it was so weird. Like, I'm just so
Oh,
confused.
okay. Here's the weird bit. Okay, at the beginning we see Nathan working at a bar,
Yeah.
but in the trailer, he's at the bar, but it's a different one, and the dialogue is different between Nathan and Sully. Like,
Yes, it is.
yeah, okay, they have like a dialogue. Like, oh, you're too young at a bar, and then Nathan's like, oh, you're too old for a prom. That's not in
Yeah.
this.
No,
Instead,
they must have
it's
they must have reshot it.
yeah, and then instead it's like you stole, okay,
Naughty boy,
naughty boy, I'll hire
thou
you.
shall not steal.
Yeah, I'll hire you. And they're like, yeah, sure. You know my brother? Yeah, I do. Okay. Goes back to his apartment, and there's a weird montage, like out of nowhere, just looking through the stuff, like, I remember that bit. It doesn't show. He's just like laughing. And then there's a weird bit of the guitar just playing in the background, like,
Yeah, the score,
and then,
man. Like,
yeah.
why is there so much guitar going on? Like Ramin Djawadi, who did the score for the first Iron Man film and for Game of Thrones, probably the two things that I know him from the most. And those are pretty good scores. But like Uncharted had a sound, and you pointed it out, they literally play the Uncharted theme in the end credits. And it's like, why don't you just get Henry Jackman or something? Why don't you like try?
Oh god. And then like the weird motivation is like looking through, and then he just picks up the phone like, yeah, I'm in the thing now.
You son of a
What?
bitch, I'm in.
Yeah. It just ruins the bit like of him like treasure hunting. But no, it's just like the only motivation was just like looking through the books and like, haha, funny. And I don't know. It's
Yeah, he
just
wants to like his whole thing is like, oh, my brother, I want to do this because I want to find my brother. They tell us in the most mundane, like Chloe's like, are you gonna tell him about his brother? And he's like, yeah, I will. And then it's like, okay, so his brother's dead. And then there's a big reveal. It's like, I'm sorry, but your brother's dead. And it's like, not really. And they set up this whole thing where it's like, I'm gonna get revenge for my brother's death. I'm going to kill Joe who killed his brother, and
Wait,
that's
did he
the
say
only
that?
reason. Yeah, no, yeah. He's like, I'm gonna get revenge, and
I
that
don't
like,
remember him saying that.
yeah. He stands on the plane. And he's like, did you kill my brother? And he's like
Oh,
angry at
that.
her.
Oh, really? Oh, really? That's
Yeah,
the bit of revenge? Oh, I
yeah.
didn't
Like
really get that.
they
I thought
they
he was just
don't
like,
like. Yeah, no, he doesn't like ever. That plot line never ends, and Sully is the one that eventually kills her. Well, the boat kills her. Oh my god, it was amazing. It was the
roach.
funniest thing. Like Sully throws his rucksack, which has like gold on it. He throws it like at her. They're in the air on the pirate ship because that's how the film ends. Obviously, with helicopters flying two pirate ships in the air. Sure, whatever. And she falls into the river, into the sea. And she's still alive. And I thought, okay, so maybe they're trying to make her a villain for a sequel. No, they drop the pirate ship on her and she dies, gets crushed. Like, oh my
But,
God.
oh yeah, and the stuff in this is quite brutal. You know, like get thrown out by in the ships and like get hit by something, and then oh my God, I just remember something. The most hilarious bit was like, okay, they were on the ship, like okay, the two helicopters somehow picking up the pirate ships. Is it pirate ships?
Yeah.
I don't know. Ships.
Yeah.
And then yeah, and they're picking up, and there was one guy that Nate was fighting, and then they were about to hit this rock thing, and then the person who was shooting at Nate just got hit by it, and there's a
Yeah.
weird sound effect that
They
played.
literally put in the sound of this guy getting crunched by a rock.
We were just looked and we were just like, what the hell is this?
It was stupid. The whole thing, honestly, like, okay, so we took when we did the Spider-Man films back at the end of 2021, when we talked about Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man films, we talked about Avi Arad, the Sony producer who just like really, really interfered and messed those films up. I feel like he's just incapable of like, because he's the only producer on this film. I think there'll probably be associate producers and all that, but like he's the main producer. And it's like, how the hell did he produce Spider-Man 1 and 2? Because like this film is so bad. It's dreadful. I'm hurt.
It was so sad, like seeing all like the good people that did the thing, but it's just that one guy just messes it up.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, the editing was awful. Pace was non-existent. It was just so weird.
Yeah, it was very choppy. It was like sometimes it was like, okay, we're going at a brief pace here, that's fine. And other times it was like, oh, this is actually going quite fast. And sometimes it's like we're crawling, we're going like it starts off really, really slow, I thought.
The one thing that's looping around my head is the joke where Chloe's just like walking up and says, "Nice car." Yeah.
Yes. No, that was the weirdest bit. Like, okay, what do you give it out of 10?
3.
Yeah, I agree actually. 3. Yeah, I think that's a good. I mean, just I loved talking about the Uncharted games. I loved going through them again, but this was wow.
This was just terrible. This was just like a nightmare. Nolan North was the best thing about this entire thing.
100%. Great cameo.
I wish there was other great cameos, but no, this is the one that really helped me get through this entire film. I was like, where is Nolan North? Oh, there he is, by a hotel. Yeah, there was a hotel in the middle of nowhere.
Random hotel. They're just like, oh, we're in the middle of the sea. Oh no, it's a hotel. Great, we can just stay there with Sully's credit card. Apparently, okay, cool.
Wait, really?
Yeah, remember he signs in as Victor Sullivan and uses his card because of course he does. That just makes sense.
My brain wasn't even recording that bit. I was just still focused on like, how the heck are they still talking in the car? Like falling down, just like oh my God. 3 out of 10.
I have nothing else to say. But good news, John, and everyone listening, because we will be cleansed next week. Because next week it's the Batman. Finally, this is it. This is what we've been waiting for. And I could not be more excited. Thank you, everyone, for listening to whatever this was. And if you enjoyed it, please give us a thumbs up, because, you know, we watched this film and I feel like we deserve it for just that alone. Subscribe if you want to see more. We did talk about the Uncharted games last week, and they're so much better. We have so much positive to say about them, and we've got loads of other content if you guys are interested. Some good films with Tom Holland in the Spider-Man films, or at least No Way Home, in my opinion. That's neither here or there. You can get in touch with us. Tell us your thoughts about Uncharted or anything, or give us questions if you want to know. If you email us ourstimefilmpod@gmail.com, or you can follow us on Twitter or Instagram at ourstimefilmpod. And yeah, I think that's it.
If you're a huge Uncharted fan, please don't see this. I'm telling you, please. From a huge Uncharted fan, please don't. Please,
it
please.
Will ruin your life. If you're a big Uncharted fan, play the Uncharted games. Just play them again.
Yes,
that's what you should do.
Yes, play them again, because that's what I've been doing. I've played Uncharted 2. I was like, this is masterpiece. But yeah, please don't see it if you really want to hurt yourself and just cry in the cinema. Wow, there's people that don't get the Nolan North cameo. So.
Oh no. Oh god.
Get vaccinated. Wear a mask. Be safe.
Yeah, and also I want to say, things are pretty intense in the world right now. Hope everyone is
Yeah.
is okay. If you need support and all that, it's out there, and yeah, everyone stay okay, and surround yourself as much as you can with good stuff, because things are getting pretty dark out there, and anyone in Ukraine or indeed in Russia, our thoughts and prayers are with you.
Yes,
So, yeah.
and be safe. It's a terrible thing that's happening right now. Make sure you're in a safe place right now. So, yeah. But thank you for listening. And
Yeah.
Take it, given.
Give nothing back.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.